It's well known at this point that the Midwest has like 14 seasons throughout the year, right? You have your false spring, your fifth winter, your second spring, and then your ninth winter, and all of these sort of false starts and missed marks that happen all throughout the 12 months of the year in this area of the country. Yeah, that's right. That's right, everybody. Summer's calling. Today, we got the official beginning of one of the Midwest's occasionally recurring seasons, tornado season. And it comes as it does every year with the blaring sirens of horns throughout the KC metro area, and as many people in those homes as possible leaving their homes to go outside and look up. And I got to do that today, and I didn't see any tornadic activity coming down. So my day, Seth, I can see you going both sides there of like bummed you didn't get to see a tornado, but glad that a tornado didn't hit in your neighborhood. And that's exactly where I've been. There was actually a tornado very near Arrowhead, which is obviously a thing of its own, both stadiums. And we are going to talk about some stadium things, but that's not where I'm headed. I just thought maybe Seth could go ahead and do a film review since we almost had a touchdown at Arrowhead. Like, I feel like, Seth, if you're tired of doing UDFAs, you might as well get into meteorology. Hope all is well throughout the Kansas City area. I don't believe I've seen anything too terribly disastrous from this afternoon's bit of excitement. Certainly, if there was anything affecting you, giving you all the best from what will be a truly tornadic edition of Only Weird Games here on KC Sports Network. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor. Seth, seem like you're open to the idea. You ready to get in front of a green screen?
You know, I couldn't possibly look worse in front of a green screen than I feel like I do at other times in my life. And so
you could.
Well, I mean, I could like wear green.
That's what I was thinking. I think we put you in a green morph suit and make your head really big.
My fuzzy hair and my general demeanor and build does that all on its own. So I would do a film review on a tornado. Like, there's things, it's like, lacks decisiveness, but definitely has a lot of power, but just
can take some time to develop.
Yeah, it definitely needs some time to develop. Not really a cold weather player.
No, a lot of hot air.
Yeah, once the snow is around, you know what? Thanks, Todd Barton. Believe in yourself, Seth. I do believe in myself.
I like
it's all turned around.
I like that whatever you say, your general demeanor is one of the things that makes you unattractive. I think that's very self-aware. I mean, that's great. Most people just focus on the physical.
Well, there's a whole line. there's a line from, I think it's New Girl, where he's like, it's not you. It's the things that you say and the look on your face and the things that you do and your general demeanor. And like, it's just like, yeah, that's about right. That's why I never really ask people that don't like me why they don't like me, because I can figure it out. Like,
or you thought you did, and then you learn a new reason people don't like you, and it's like, actually, ignorance can occasionally be bliss.
Yeah, I don't need that in my life. I'm perfectly comfortable knowing why I don't like myself.
That's hard enough. Yeah.
So you're catching me really, like, I just arrived from my hour drive that 3 days a week I got to make, which is not that long a drive, and it's fine. But every now and then I'm pretty old at this point. An hour drive, I'm pretty tired afterwards. I haven't had any caffeine. So if I seem a lot more like, what the crap's going on with Seth? That's all. I just need to wake up a little bit. I need like a nap. I need a little caffeine. Maybe
let somebody else talk for a little bit, see if that helps.
Yeah. There's lots of things that I could do that might help. But the great thing about me is that when I turn around, it just turns around quickly. I'm just ready to go. That's what Jazz said is so great about being married to me, is you never know what you're going to get. She said half of those things.
Sure.
Hey, Nate. Oh, well, the Taylor household.
I mean, sure. I'll keep this much tighter and shorter than Mr.
We only
Keysor.
have 55 minutes left. You almost
another
have to.
flaw that I have.
No, it's
go on.
It's okay.
Talk a lot. Just
Everything's
stuff
just
go.
fine. My child, my newborn child Noah is 6 weeks old today.
Did he do this?
No, he didn't do this.
Has he been building a boat? If he starts building a boat, you got to tell the rest of us immediately.
This worried my 9-year-old Hayden.
Yeah.
And it's been quite a day. Obviously, cats and dogs. If you can stay inside, stay inside. I haven't heard
Beautiful
anything
outside here.
Yeah, in the Kansas
Actually,
City
Seth, this would be a
Metro,
great time for you to go take a walk.
Yeah, in the Kansas City metro area as we're recording this on a very sizable seismic Tuesday. Boys, and I know Tucker's listening as well. Guys, I almost didn't make it today. All right. I almost wasn't here for this episode. Okay. And I know that there's a lot of love and there's a lot of respect for what we do here, even during the off season when things can get a little silly, like sex, 5-minute monologues.
You said I gotta go.
Nate, we're just gonna push past it.
Anyway, my child got vaccinated today, so that's been a stressful thing. But there was a time where I can demarcate my life before this happened and after this happened. And when that moment came Sunday night, I was sure of myself that I wasn't going to be here because my phone and the internet informs me, gentlemen, that it is 85 degrees, a little overcast, but you can see the sun in St. Louis. Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't been to St. Louis since 2009. That's how much I hate the city of St. Louis, okay? But my life changed on Sunday. Hell, all of our lives changed Sunday if you live in the Kansas City metropolitan area. Because the only reason I haven't... Should I say it, Josh?
Oh, no. Well, no. I wish we wouldn't.
That's right, Nate Dogg. Put it on the screen, Tucker. The only reason I'm out work.
Babe, if you're watching with this with the kids right now, I see the direction this is going. Just
You see the what this is going?
Guys, my life changed on Sunday because the Kansas City Royals called up Jack Caglione, and I could have taken my entire family. I could have essentially lightly kidnapped them across the state line to go watch a grown man play a child's game in St. Louis. But you know what? For the greater good of my family,
got it.
In this podcast,
not in that order.
I'm going to just sit in this rainstorm all day and hope nothing breaks. So there you have it. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. I mean, I guess they're doing things in Jefferson City, but that's not the most important place in the state. So that's cool. I mean, I think we're all ready to get off later tonight.
For the baseball agnostic viewership, voyeurs who really have earned their name this week, the Kansas City Royals called up young slugger Jack Caglione, and I don't think you're really supposed to pronounce the last syllable quite that hard. I just really, you know what you did for me, Nate? You made me want to talk about the stadiums.
Okay, cool.
So I guess good. You know what? I guess good job.
Hey, and I'm here, and I can tell you some things instead of where Jonathan India should be in the lineup and whether or not the Royals can score more than 2 runs tonight and whether or not we should just Come on, just give me one, Jack. Just give me one, okay? He's been hitting moonshots for months now, okay? And I have told my young son, Hayden, that ain't nobody ever supposed to get to the major leagues this fast, guys. They drafted him less than a year ago. He's hitting 6th tonight behind Salvador Perez. Just give me one, Jack off. Just give me one, baby. Huh? Just give me one. So, look, the Missouri Senate doesn't know what they're doing.
Hold on. You may know, ladies and gentlemen, that the Kansas City Chiefs and Kansas City Royals, they currently have 2 stadiums in the same parking lot. It's called the Truman Sports Complex. All right, I don't have to hold on quite that far. We can skip down the line a little bit.
Sure.
Stadium future, still up in the air. A handful. Oh, go ahead. Nate, you read what Tucker just said in the private chat to continue to fuel the Jack train, and then we'll take it back to the stadium thing.
Second fewest games to the major leagues in Royals baseball history since 1973. The only person who did it faster was a guy named Bo Jackson.
Jackson.
So,
you can't spell Jackson without Jack.
That's right.
We are not in danger of overhyping this young man.
Look, guys, there is not a more important baseball game in the entire Royal season than tonight. I could make that argument. Because, Seth, he's supposed to be capable of being like Aaron Judge with Ohtani's power. Do you know who those 2 guys are?
I'm familiar with their work.
Steph, who would you have a better chance of identifying based off of a photograph? Jack Caglione or Laura Kelly?
Jack Caglione comes across my Twitter feed so often that I'm comfortable, especially considering I have absolutely no idea who Laura Kelly is.
She's the governor of Kansas.
That's perfect.
Yeah, you know what? The name rings a bell now. I figured it was probably some pop star or some other youthful reference.
Yeah, she just helped Taylor Swift buy back all of her masters. No, so frankly, fellas, I don't need for this to be the next major block of the show. I'm honestly more interested in the thing that Seth is even less interested in talking about, his own film review. But this was written by Nate Taylor in a little website called The Athletic over in the New York Times, actually. This I thought was a good check-in on where we're at in the process. Because frankly, I've been at a point these last couple of months where most of the time I see something that vaguely resembles news and I say, okay, well, I have no real power or strong opinion about this at the moment, so I'll check back in a couple of months. This is another check-in, and the lead is juicy, Nate. Clark Hunt wants a dome. The Chiefs owner can visualize the potential next chapter of his franchise, one that could begin in just 6 years. Quote, I do think for the community, a dome would be a tremendous asset, Hunt said in late March at the NFL's annual league meeting. It would give the Kansas City region an opportunity to host significant events. As you lay out throughout the story, it feels like the options the Chiefs are most clearly weighing, and obviously the Royals have weight in this because they're in the same place right now, but they're not going to be in the same place. Truly a one of one, at least to my knowledge, a one of one process for both teams involved here and for the city, of course. But it seems like you've got 2 things the Chiefs would be pretty content with, or at least that they're looking at it as plan A and plan B in whatever order. You get a dome in Kansas or you renovate Arrowhead. Anything else seems like it would be door number 3 levels at this point, at least based off the framing here. Those would be the 2 ideals. What do we need to know about where things stand now? Because again, if you want way more backstory, Nate did a really good job putting a lot of the important stuff in here. I think there's a few things that are interesting that the Chiefs have said that admit some mistakes that they made throughout the process, and then maybe some that they don't admit that I think they could probably benefit from. But all in all, where does it stand right now? Do you have a feel for how close we are to something resembling a next serious step? What do people need to know if they care where the stadium is?
Yeah. Look, this is still very important. I think that I had written this a while. The majority of it I had written a while ago, so I just want to be clear about that. We did watch how the Missouri legislation played out its spring session, which is now in a summer session, in large part because of this, because there's significance to the possibility of not just Missouri losing the St. Louis Rams all those years ago, but obviously losing the Chiefs to a, cross the state line rival in Kansas, which has a great significance, not only to like the franchise, but to the economic business future for both states, especially in Kansas, considering they've been going at this for about 2 to 3 years now, legitimately. So look, I know there's been some discussion. I'm usually someone who doesn't want to get like too much into the back and forth. Like, hopefully you read the story. Hopefully it all makes sense to you. As Josh said, we tried to streamline things to bring you up to date as close as we could. And usually I just want the reporting and the writing to sort of speak for itself. What I did not anticipate was how surprising it would be for people to come to the realization that their owner in Clark Hunt wants a new stadium.
Yeah.
And not only that, but that he's come in a more incremental path, I believe, from just like maybe 4 years ago, an incremental path of, I want to preserve Arrowhead, to, is that feasible? How's that going to happen? Is it worth the cost? Or, like a lot of his peers, would it be easier, better? Would you maximize profit building a new stadium that could also be an attraction throughout the calendar year, and also would come with the prestige of potentially luring the Super Bowl to a region that has never had it before, which would be, and I know this might sound silly or not as important, but in overall to the legacy of the Hunt family and to the legacy of Clark as he continues to distinguish himself from his father, even though they will always be linked in terms of the ownership of the franchise. I mean, this is a legacy play in a lot of sense. So I just couldn't, I guess, anticipate, fellas, and this is where we'll start, that people would be up in arms about a dome, but also not realize that, like, this is what most owners do when they're trying to get a new stadium, no matter how you finance it. And if Kansas is willing to put a lot of the money up front for a enclosed stadium, the NFL is just about assured Clark Hunt that the Chiefs would host a Super Bowl. Right. So this is more business than I think some people are, willing to understand, because we all have certain memories and we all hold on to certain things about Arrowhead for sort of the symbol that it is, not only for Chiefs football, but just for Kansas City in general. But this is where we are. And, the reason I wrote the story the way I wrote it is because that is you could argue that's the most important detail, is that this man in a 4-year period went from wanting to preserve the stadium that his father built to now seeing the potential of what could happen once a dome.
Maybe it's also because we've talked about this now for quite a while, as the story has gone on for quite a while, but I feel like this was always one of the, I think this, again, plan A, plan B, whatever order, dome in Kansas, renovate Arrowhead, it kind of always felt like those were the two options they had the entire time. Moving into Kansas and building something very similar to Arrowhead, I think always would have felt like a little bit like you're making Krusty Krab 2 over here. It's like, well, wait a second, that's not quite the original thing, but it looks so similar. What's the logic of that? And obviously, like, putting a dome over Arrowhead was something that got talked about quite a long time ago. Yep. And now renovation's a whole different word. But the part of what you just said there towards the end, Nate, that does bum me out on behalf of other people, is that it is business. And as I feel like we in this show have done a pretty good job of acknowledging this, but it's also not a fun message to deliver. It is business. It's business for people. Like, very frequently, you, the fan, are the asset, right? Like, it is community, and it is a fan base, and it is a collection of people with a lot of things in common, but also you are buying the tickets and the merch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The NFL is not this size while, running soup kitchens in these arenas. It is a gigantic money-making venture with 32 slightly smaller, gigantic money-making ventures nested beneath them. Business speaking, these are the two things that make sense. You can have whatever feelings you want about either side of those. I'm not terribly torn up about either of those. I think I might feel more strongly about where the Royals end up, because it feels like they kicked off a lot of this with wanting downtown baseball.
They did.
And now it's like, okay, guys, still downtown baseball or what?
I will say this. The Royals are the original instigator in all of this that has sort of affected the Chiefs because, again, when this was all starting, I think the team was like, well, look, Arrowhead's great. It's awesome. It's Wrigley Field. It's Fenway Park. It's Lambeau Field. It's Soldier Field. And technically, from the AFC standpoint, historically, it will be, in 2028, they'll be the oldest. Arrowhead will be the oldest stadium in the AFC in 2028 because of Buffalo building this new stadium. And then, by the way, kids, they don't have a roof because, or a dome, I should say, because the NFL told them, hell no, we ain't coming to Buffalo for a Super Bowl. Get out my face.
Right. Put a dome over the city for us to do that.
So, which is different than what has been sort of, flirted to Kansas City. I think the thing that I find difficult in all this, and I know it's got to be tough for someone like Seth, who makes it a point every year to go to Chiefs games at Arrowhead because of the atmosphere, because of the singular uniqueness that stadium can provide, both acoustically and optically, especially when you add in the cold weather element to it. The Chiefs now are at a point where they can maximize. I mean, business is about year-over-year growth. And if you're telling me that, like, it's going to be more expensive to maintain this place versus building somewhere new, then yeah, these are the two options. Kansas has put the money up front. Missouri, through this special session this week, is trying to come close to the money. I know what, this is some context things. I know what Mayor Quentin Lucas said, what was it, a couple days ago, that said, look, like, who knows how much money or how much of a percentage could Kansas really have to help build the stadium? Is it 60%? Is it 75%? Could Missouri go to a 50-50 model where it's like 50% is on the state, 50% is on the franchise to renovate? Well, it came out yesterday that it might take $1.2 billion to renovate Arrowhead, when it could take $2 to $3 billion to just build a new stadium with the guarantee of getting a Super Bowl and many of other things, to where, again, year-over-year growth might lead to you deciding to take on, a new stadium, a new site, moving across the state line. And so it's difficult for fans because they don't really have a say in this anymore. And that's why the vote last April in 2024 was so important, because that was a small segment of fans, of season ticket holders, of people of Jackson County who did get to have a say.
Seth, what do you think?
Sorry about that. I was on mute.
Why?
So
let's take a break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Folks, it's playoff time, and if you're still just watching games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks Flex Plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competition, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers can get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. Here's what you got to do. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Good news, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes bullying works. And in this instance, you got Seth Keysor to dig up some film for a couple of guys that he thinks are either bums or Hall of Famers. I can never keep it straight. But It's there in the Chief of the North newsletter right now. You can go check out we're called the UDFA spotlight on this pair of pass catchers. You want to start with one over the other, Seth? I kind of have a take on both sides that I want to run by you guys after you've given the pitch. Where do you want to start?
I feel like I owe our watchers an explanation, and I'm feeling a lot better.
Good. That's great. You don't owe anybody an explanation for anything. What you do in private is your own business, Seth.
Man, the listeners are like,
frankly, I don't want to hear an explanation.
No, don't say anything.
Of what I just saw on camera a few moments ago.
I just want to say one thing. Sometimes
get me, cancel culture.
Sometimes you think that you're sad. Sometimes you think that you've had a tough day. Sometimes you think that you're bummed out. But sometimes all you need is for the Canada wildfire smoke to go away and for your wife to send you some biscuits and gravy.
Wow, biscuits and gravy at 5 o'clock is.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna be asleep in half an hour.
What are you, a maniac?
I love some biscuits and gravy, but
I was realizing like what is wrong with me, because I was kind of going over my behavior during the introduction in my head, and I was like, man, someone's gonna call a number. Just be like, you can look him up, do a wellness check. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And I was like, oh man, I haven't eaten today. Like I had like a protein bar at lunch.
Not the same.
And I was like, I'm not built for that. And so I texted Jazz like, hey, can you make me a sandwich? And of course, her reaction is some version of like, is this a bit?
Whoa,
it's like,
whoa, whoa. Do you ever text her anything else? Like, hey, can I help you around the house?
Nah.
Well, I mean, you know what?
I'm turning off my camera now.
Yep. So no, and so I was like, could you make me a sandwich? I haven't eaten today. I'm really sorry, whatever. She was like, yeah, sure, because Jazz is great.
But
and she
her
goes,
only flaw is that she thinks that gravy is an acceptable sandwich filling.
Yeah. No. So then she's like, well, yeah, but we don't have any sandwich meat. And I'm like, well, what are you planning on bringing me? Like a cheese and mayo sandwich? Like that's pretty hardcore, man. And so she's
literally, that's what gravy is.
Yeah. But then she goes like, but we do have biscuits and gravy. And I was like, Okay.
Yeah.
And so then she sent in Lucas, and she knew, by the way, Jazz is smart. She knew there was no way she was going to bring me biscuits and gravy mid-podcast without becoming the main character for about 20 minutes.
Under any circumstance, ask the woman in your house, make me a sandwich.
Well,
That time I heard that as the Taco Bell gong. That one
Yeah.
felt like Nate cutting a quick Taco Bell promo of like
I mean, I'm all about equality, Nathaniel.
the fact that she doesn't ask you to ever make her food is more of a trust issue and a skill issue than a gender roles thing. I get
Yeah.
it.
Like my job is like, hey, make sure she's got water at bedtime, like a plant, I guess.
Yeah. So
No,
far,
like,
I'll tell you what, Seth. So far, I'll let you keep that shovel. You're digging right out.
Yep.
But no, like
Keep going.
I take her outside to potty.
We have roast-
Stuff that I got.
I made her a sandwich recently. This is true equality. Is that either
You made her a sandwich recently to show her how a good one gets made.
Well, I wanted her to understand. Like
Oh,
she'd ask
no.
me, "Well, yeah, but what do you think my role is in this marriage?" Why did you make me into that? I'm so upset.
Why did I make you do that?
So tell me about this tight end.
What else in your life do you blame me for? Do you yell at your
Virtually
everything.
Do you yell at your
Everything.
kids?
What do you
feel like
think?
you react in a way you're not proud of later? Like, man, I can't believe Josh made me yell at my kids like that.
We ask each other to make each other sandwiches, and I was so hungry. And because she's awesome, she sent me biscuits and gravy. And so that's why you just watched me midway through start eating biscuits and gravy while Nate was very earnestly reporting news. And honest to goodness, it's one of the funniest things I've ever been a part of. As I sat there, I was laughing so hard I couldn't eat, but I really need the calories.
Yeah. I tried to include you in the conversation. Then you took a bite of food, and I just said, I guess I have to keep going.
Then I spilled it all over my tie, like some kind of
I was like, well, I guess I
to-
need to keep reporting what has happened because
Nate kept reporting.
I want Seth to explain how much he loves Arrowhead so that I could get everybody to realize how sad it might be that it's not going to be around in 5 years.
Explain to me why this isn't a sandwich.
I loved the moment of I saw the moment after I appeared to be a drop of gravy landed on your tie, and then you scanned the room for napkin adjacent devices, and then just grabbed a full bottle of Lysol of Clorox wipes. Like, well, they're 99.9% disinfectant.
Yeah, no, my tie is 1,000,000% going to disintegrate here in a bit. Like that thing is gone. This is so bad. I have never felt more responsible for the show going off the rails, and I've been responsible for it a few times.
You have, but it's okay, Seth. I'll give you a return here. We can now announce it. You can sign up on the KCSN Substack if you want to sign up for your own Only Weird Games bib. We're only making 500 of them, and we're giving the first one to Seth, and actually the first 10 to Seth, and then we're giving away the next 490.
And the funny thing is, my first thought, she sent it in here with Lucas with a bowl, and my first thought was like, you can't give me a plate? Like, why do you think I need a bowl? What do you think I'm some kind of... And then immediately just
said like a 1940s house husband.
No, like what I meant was I was offended that she
even find her.
I was offended that I was an idiot, but in a different way. I was offended that she thought that I needed a bowl to not spill my biscuits and gravy.
Oh.
This is a very
once again another
polished version of Mad Men that I didn't know I was involved in. Good Lord.
Yes. I would just tell you, no, Jazz, man, she's so great.
You can stop talking about Jazz and start talking about Elijhah Badger as soon as you want to.
I appreciate that. She's getting in the car and leaving now. So either she's been watching this show or she's taking Lucas to soccer practice, one of the two.
Hope you enjoyed.
But anyway, biscuits and gravy, elite dinner. I am not going to feel well in an hour.
I don't feel well now.
I'm so confused.
No. So shout out to Jazz, who is just the best wife in the universe and willing to put up with just loads of crap. Anyway, so I
Must be the
reviewed
best
the film.
podcast host in the universe.
Anywho,
I reviewed the film of. I really feel the need to clarify that I don't think my wife needs to make me a sandwich just because I ask, and I'm deeply afraid of her. Just in case anyone
You know what
is
I
new to
need?
the podcast.
I need for my film analyst to tell me about these effing undrafted free agents who have been on the team for 2 months.
It's so interesting that so undrafted free agents to Hall of Famers. That's a great lead in there.
Yeah,
So here's the thing about undrafted free agents that I need to remind people. Most of them are not going to make the team.
oh come
The
on!
vast majority of them, in fact. You know one reason why everyone was so happy for Tershawn Wharton when he got paid? Because that almost never happens for unrestricted free agents. And that's an awesome story, man. You made your dream come true. If you are an undrafted free agent and you manage to hang in the league for 3 or 4 years, when do you it's after year 3?
It's like 3.5 years to get the pension.
Yep, 3.5 years. If you make it 4 years, you've probably made yourself a little over $1 million. You've got yourself on the pension. You've got some lifetime benefits. Great. But even that doesn't usually happen. And I've got a theory on this because every year people are more interested in a couple of undrafted free agents than they are in the 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks.
Damn
Every
right.
year.
Damn
And the
right.
way it always happens, the conversation always starts with, well, they were projected to be like a 6th round pick, and we got them undrafted.
I mean, the boys are scouting. It's a skill, I tell you, a skill. Look what they did last year with that guy. Who's the guy with the alligator again? Carson Steele. Steele. You want me to go through him?
Yeah.
Tershawn
Oh, my
Wharton.
goodness.
Steele. Ben Neiman. Steele. Andrew
That's-
Wiley. Steele.
So here's the thing. We get caught up in the idea of value. Not our value as a person. Like some people have value. No. Bringing myself
Come
back.
again.
Nope.
Are you ready? Do you need me to talk about Jack Caglione for a few minutes so you can cool
No,
down?
I'm okay. But I mean value, when it comes to how we discuss the draft, we are obsessed with value. We could have 2 players where one is objectively better on film than the other one, but because we drafted him in the 3rd round and a worse player on film in the 6th round, but if the 6th rounder was projected to go in the 4th round, everyone's like, oh, that's a deal. It's kind of like Jazz loves to present me ideas and explain to me how much money it doesn't cost.
Still said Jazz's name before you said Elijah Badger.
I'm talking about the concept of value with undrafted free agents.
Yeah, so Jazz got a great deal because you were available.
Right.
Well,
You were the undrafted free agent.
Is that the analogy?
yeah, maybe. But this idea is we have to really rein in our expectations. That said, let's talk about it. And the reason I'm saying this is the number of people that wanted me to review Elijah Badger and Jake Briningstool. How do you pronounce his last name?
Chanel.
Hey, you want to know the best undrafted player in the Andy Reid era for your Kansas City Chiefs, ladies and gentlemen? Take a guess, gentlemen. Everybody in the chat, take a guess. Who's the greatest undrafted rookie who became something for your Kansas City Chiefs?
Tershawn Wharton. In the
Nope.
Reid era.
Nope. No.
Harrison Butker.
Now, technically, he was not brought on the team as an undrafted rookie.
He was an undrafted free. Okay, fine.
He was acquired via the
Nate,
Carolina Panthers
I
practice
used
squad.
it all up.
Familiar that he was on the Carolina Panthers practice squad. I knew that.
You're damn right, Jason Ringer. Say it. Say his name.
Dirty
Say
Dan
his
Sorensen.
name. Daniel Dirty Sorensen is the greatest undrafted player in the Andy Reid era.
Thank you, Nikki M. Briningstool, not Brine. So
Hey, thank you.
I had more people ask me about Elijah
Tershawn
Badger.
Wharton is a better football player than
Stop
Daniel
it.
Sorensen.
Stop it. Stop it.
I'm actually gonna have to side with Brisco on this one, Nathaniel.
Stop it.
So, all right.
Don't you screw up my narrative.
All right. Won't happen again.
So
Dirty Dan.
I had more people asking me about 2 undrafted free agents because both of them were projected to be drafted. right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
again, that ties to our idea of value in picks, and that's it's a way to view the decision making of the team, but it's not a way to really project how good the player is going to be. I want to talk about Elijhah Badger first because of the two of them. I think he has the most obvious path to make the roster. For one thing, the tight end position, you've got a guy they drafted last year in Jared Wiley, who still is coming back from injury, so we'll see.
Right.
You got Noah Gray, you got Travis Kelce. 4 tight ends is a bit of a non-starter, but we'll see. They usually have one extra guy maybe floating around.
They used like 6 or 7 last year because injuries were a problem.
Yes.
So practice squad,
Right.
practice squad is more of a possibility there. But Elijhah Badger, I think, has a path to actually make the roster. The major reason being the same reason why I talked about Jalen Royals having a shot at getting some snaps. He can play on the outside. His best trait, his most translatable trait, if it does indeed translate, is that he can free his hands. He can deal with contact. He can run through that contact. He's about 6'1", 205. He's got okay size, not elite size, but solid size. He plays pretty strong. He can run through contact, and he's got decent deep speed, can track the ball. He's more of a strider. He doesn't accelerate particularly well, but he can open up down the field a little bit, and he can run through contact to open up down the field a little bit, which means he can run wind sprints for you. And every now and then catch 1 or 2 targets down the field when the safeties don't come his way. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying is there's an MVS role up for grabs on the roster. There will always be that role with the Chiefs. Now, maybe some of it they're going to say, well, we're going to use some of those downfield routes for Xavier Worthy or for Hollywood Brown. And they should. They're much more dynamic players. And Nate Dogg, can he be Justin Watson? Similar role, right? Justin Watson played the MVS role. That's why he saw so many snaps. Injuries played a part in that too. No, even if they give up some of those downfield snaps to Worthy and to Brown, which they 1,000,000% should because they're more dynamic and you want to threaten teams all over the field, you're still going to have hundreds of snaps for a guy that can run through contact and has a little bit of downfield speed. Elijhah Badger has those things. And this is a roster that has no one else that's not really undersized that shows that consistently. And so if Jalen Royals can't do it, there's a path there for Badger to actually get snaps if he can do 2 things. And that's what's kind of an unusual thing is that you've got this window by being able to do a small subset of things well enough, as opposed to, you got to be able to do a bunch of things well to get on the field as a tight end, or at least passively. So I think there's a path there for Badger potentially. The problem is I don't know who you take off the roster for him. I think people would have ideas.
I have ideas. Thanks, Seth. I'll take it from here, and then I'm going to hand it to Nate. Nate's going to tell us if he's going to make the roster or not. Because this is why I think it's genuinely interesting, why I think this review is actually worth doing, and why I think we're going to have this conversation more than we need to at training camp. Obviously, there are probably 4 or 5 receivers on this team who either really matter or you want to matter this season, right? Worthy, Brown, and Rashee Rice. I'm having it be a healthy Rashee Rice, and I'm not counting a suspension just in this thing. Obviously, if he is suspended, it opens up a spot for a little bit. But Worthy, Brown, Rice, Jalen Royals is on the roster. Barring something wild, Juju Smith-Schuster is your 5th guy. You've got 1 spot, maybe 2, maybe the right spot, but you've really got 1 spot for sure for Sky Moore, Justin Ross, Tyquan Thornton, Nico Remigio, Elijhah Badger. And no, that's just the order on the depth chart I'm looking at here.
Right.
You're getting more special teams juice from a whole bunch of your rookie class. Rashard Smith in a major way. Noah Williams seems to be there in a major way. Obviously, we already mentioned Jalen Royals. So I don't think your 6th guy has to be the 6th guy is going to have to be a guy who does special teams. He doesn't have to be Marcus Kemp, right? Where that's like his main thing. If you do think you could get yourself a reasonable facsimile of MVS, Justin Watson role type of guy on a rookie contract throughout a few years going forward, that's a guy worth giving a roster spot to, even if it is that like Justin Ross hype train where clearly he would be the 6th or 7th roster and the 50th player of importance in 2025. I could see the vision. What do you think,
Yeah.
Nate? Is he in a real spot to get that last spot? Am I not giving Nico Remigio enough credit? What's the wide receiver room look like for you?
Yes and no. I still think the player who probably has the best path towards making the roster is Nico Remigio, just because I think we need to remind ourselves just how good he ended the regular season last year and his impactful plays on special teams in the postseason. I guess I'll include. I don't want to be like dismissive, but I'll include Justin Ross for now, because at one point in time he did show something of value. Now the issue has always been, could he be consistent and could his body hold up? So
the issue isn't whether that's a question. The issue is that the answer's been no.
Right.
For the
Multiple
past
times.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to sound
In a
flippant with
mid-season
that.
suspension.
He's
Correct.
now, Justin Ross has now been in the league long enough that I think he's past that point of getting benefits. And so I
Okay.
feel a little more free to critique. But
Sure.
I mean, he wasn't running routes to the right spots either. Like this
He wasn't
like,
lining up. He wasn't lining up in the right spots either in preseason games.
Right.
So
And
look,
yeah.
we'll give him. Look, me, the eternal optimist. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And then it really becomes, I think, the person who has the most upside is probably Tyquan Thornton. And then I think you put Badger in the mix of like, hey, and this is where it gets so exciting, because it's one thing if it's like Tershawn Wharton, who had no preseason games, by the way, so there really was no hype train for him, because that was the COVID year. And it's a little bit different if it's like, Daniel Sorensen. It's like, well, great, he didn't let a guy get behind him, and maybe he made a tackle or two in preseason. When you can actually get the ball in your hands, now we're talking, which was why it was so exciting to see Carson Steele make the roster, given the opportunities that we knew were there, based on the fact that they didn't have 4 legitimate running backs at the position when training camp started. So it's a little bit of a more difficult climb, but I do think Badger, if he has something very similar to, if he has a preseason and he's consistent and he doesn't, let's say he has, the fortitude to be consistent, to get better. And I think this matters a lot, like impressing the veterans in training camp and then translating that to the field for all of us to see in a preseason game or two matters. So if Badger can do that, then yeah, there's definitely a chance. But we know that Thornton was, from a value standpoint, Seth, he was taken in the draft pretty high. Now he's on a reclamation project. And who knows, maybe him with a better quarterback will lead to better results, just as Juju Smith-Schuster, given from the clubs they recently came from. But yeah, I know there's a Nate, the Keyser Brisco, who says sky's the limit. And guys, if Seth feels a certain way about Justin Ross, I can't get to where I feel about Sky Moore. I can't, man. I cannot do this. Just a quick tangent. Guys, he knows where to line up. I watched him route up one of the best safeties in the league in Derwin James. I saw it with my own eyes. I was in the building. Okay. I was there when, up until that point, he had the most impressive punt return in the Patrick Mahomes era, because he actually had a punt return.
Forward. Yeah, he ran forward.
Well,
Look, guys. Someone, I can't remember who said this. I was either on the podcast or I either saw it on Twitter or whoever, but like someone said, Nate, tell me the date when they move this man to running back. And by golly, sign me up, okay? If they give this man the Kadarius Toney treatment, hey, why don't you line up over there behind Carson Steele in the running backs during individual period? You know what? Why not? because I can't anymore. He's a great human being. He is such a good locker room guy. It's just
the problem you have with him as compared to even an Elijah Badger or Tyquan Thornton is that, and Thornton, I don't know if this really applies to him, to be perfectly honest, is that they have similar body types and skill sets at multiple spots, right? Like, it's like, oh, well, what kind of role would you envision for Sky Moore? I could talk for 2 straight minutes to try to sound football smart, but whatever I would describe, you could say that about Rashee Rice. You could say that about Hollywood Brown. You could say that about Xavier Worthy. You could say that about Jalen Royals. Honestly, you could say a lot about Juju Smith-Schuster, like in terms of where they're best used.
I mean,
that's just a tough thing, you know?
Now, we have to remember, because he was quote unquote hurt last year. But all the routes, and again, maybe I'm a sicko. I watched a lot of that Week 18 game last year for a myriad of reasons.
You're a sicko.
Mostly, and I know we're going to talk about this when we get to training camp, but like, that game serves a purpose because of Kingsley obviously playing at guard. So, okay. I kept being over there like, aren't the routes that Nico Remigio is running right now, aren't those all supposed to be Sky Moore routes? Like, but he couldn't play in that game because he was hurt.
Because he was on injured reserve, is what I'm going to say in front of a judge.
That's right.
I don't know.
Technically, they said by the book, he hurt right now.
He's on IR. Abdominal?
On IR. Everything's broken.
Is that right?
What do you mean?
Abdominal?
His whole core, his whole midsection, toast. Okay?
You know what, Nate? It's been a hard career for him. You know what's in your abdomen, technically? Your heart. Maybe his heart was broken.
He needs to be.
The Chiefs never told us what happened.
Until proven, and I hate doing this, but until proven otherwise, we cannot include Sky Moore into this, which is why I'm giving Justin Ross the benefit of the doubt, which is quite saying something.
Which is why I think there is a way that Elijah Badger gets in there, because I'm sitting here with Sky Moore and Justin Ross defenders holding out to the last breath, and I'm saying, hey, maybe a new face.
Yeah.
Did you have any other specific bits of the actual from the style of Elijah Badger you wanted to hit here, Seth? You want to just make people do the newsletter so you can get on to the replacement for Travis Kelce?
It really is just I can see why, honestly, he fell in the draft, because I don't know what the ceiling is for him, but I can see a niche role for him on a team if his ability to push through contact. Not everyone can do that. I mean, we've been talking about Sky Moore. That's a problem he has. Xavier Worthy has a problem with that. Being able to legitimately fight through contact and still get to your spot, there's value there.
Yeah.
So, but he's not particularly quick. He doesn't really look like a guy who should be in the slot. And again, he doesn't accelerate terribly well, but he's got decent downfield speed. I can see the vision. In terms of Briningstool, the thing about tight ends is no one knows whether they're going to work out, like ever.
Bingo.
He moves smoothly, but he's not explosive. So like Jared Wiley is a smooth mover. He was in college, but he had some explosion to him too. And the thing is, those two are competing to do the same type role, right? The Travis Kelce role. Neither of them are really inline guys. I think Wiley was in a limited snap set, was better at it than Briningstool. He's just not an inline blocker right now.
This is I don't want to drag you all the way afield, but like Noah Gray wasn't that guy either. He's become Jason Dunn on this team.
Hold on. I completely agree with Seth's point. But the moment I watched Noah Gray's film, I was like, they got him. Like again, which is why I gave him a nickname before he ever played a snap.
Yeah.
Because, and this is the difference, and I'm interested about this too, Seth, without giving away everything you've written. There was something very interesting about Noah Gray. It was the fact that he was basically the quarterback without playing the quarterback position. And what I mean by that is they moved him all around the field,
all over,
as a weapon at Duke because Duke only had 2 weapons. So he showed a willingness and a versatility and an intelligence, honestly, that led you to believe that like he's not going to be the best blocker, but he knows angles. Hey, he's not going to be the best speed guy, but he knows space. He's not going to be the most insane athlete, but he sure do catch the football, and he was on the field constantly. So there was a track record that I felt like once the team drafted Noah Gray that I was like, oh, okay, never going to be Travis Kelce, but that's a really good decision that I think was easier to translate because he was either average or above average at just about everything you would ask for a tight end, which is why it's so hard compared to someone like Jared Wiley, where you're like, oh, I see these 2 things as positives. I see these 2 things as like, ugh. And I don't know what that means for Mr. Stool in comparison.
Yeah. There's something about the way tight ends move in terms of their ability to move like a slow moving wide receiver, something. I don't know what quite it is, but like, because Travis Kelce never looked that fast, but he sure was.
Correct.
But it's just, they're so much bigger, right? And that's where Briningstool, he's got the frame to put on 10, 15, 20 pounds, but he weighs like 240 right now, and it shows when he blocks. He's just, and it shows. Like, you remember, I just mentioned Badger deals with contact. I think Badger deals with contact better on his routes than Briningstool does. But he's a smooth mover, and he does some stuff after the catch. I could see it. I just don't. Again, he'd have to really work through, like what you mentioned, Josh. With like Noah Gray, he's really going to have to work at the blocking thing early to try to get on the field a little bit. And with Gray, where he's been great. Where Gray's been able to succeed is understanding his role in the offense completely. He is always where Patrick Mahomes expects him to be.
Correct.
Like that dude is not ad-libbing routes. He's like, Travis, that's your thing. I'm going to be right here. I'm going to stay rooted to this spot. So I think Briningstool, I think it's just a tough position to get in there with. He's got just enough. He's just enough of a smooth mover that it wouldn't completely shock me if he made it in the league. But again, that's quite the projection.
I wasn't in any way trying to compare him to Noah Gray or their circumstances, because the reason I brought up Noah Gray, and then we can talk about the tight end room here briefly and call it a day, but the build out of that room right now is so weird. And I don't obviously Travis Kelce alone makes this true, but I don't think there's another tight end room in football that looks almost anything like the Chiefs' current tight end room, where you do have a guy who was playing, you have the greatest tight end who's ever lived. Then you have a guy who played some fullback at Duke, among other things, but like the guy who Duke was moving around to have the do it all. And then like Seth, you liked Jared Wiley. We all like Jared Wiley.
Yeah.
But we also, I think, pre-injury even started to just take that foot and just tiptoe it off the bandwagon a little bit, because the stuff that showed up in college wasn't showing up in the limited work we saw at the pro level, and then it didn't feel like he was sort of rising the ranks that way. The other thing here is how many, if you guys know, it won't be that fun. Real quick, just say a number. How many passes did Noah Gray catch in the regular season last year?
It's remarkably low compared to his actual production, to what Seth said. No, I would say like 23.
40. Seth was extremely close.
Ooh.
Here's what's crazy. That's on 49 targets. The year prior, he had 41 targets to 28 receptions. Not only is he catching the ball like that, I don't know that he had a drop last year. I'd frankly be surprised if he did. He's where Mahomes wants him to be, all of that. But even the way we talk about Noah Gray is kind of screwed up by Travis Kelce and Tony Gonzalez a little bit. Like the Noah Gray role to this point has been an extremely part-time player. I just got an idea for another stat that I bet I'll be able to find here. But do you do you still feel, obviously I don't think this year's UDFA jumps last year's 4th round pick, even coming off an ACL, but Seth, what do you feel about the tight end room aside from Travis Kelce at this point? Because I feel like the future of the position is quite likely not on the roster right now. I don't even know what I buy tight end 1 Noah Gray being in 2026 or whatever.
I think for me, some of it depends on Wiley. The thing about Wiley is that he's a smooth mover and he's explosive. And he's got great size.
Yeah.
Now, can he weaponize that? I don't know. He did a little in college, but not a ton. Production really isn't everything with college tight ends, though, because of the variance in offenses. I think if you're talking like the future tight end 1, I don't think it's Noah Gray, probably. Unless they become much, 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 much more wide receiver dependent, right? And Andy Reid has traditionally used his tight end a fair amount.
Yes.
So I think it's either Wiley or someone else. And that's again, if Wiley is able to translate his combination of smooth movement and explosion. But I think Gray is a guy that you're really glad is on your roster.
Yes.
That you hope is willing to take another mid-tier contract.
Yep.
Because I'm perfectly fine with the contract he's on right now.
Oh, it made a lot of sense, even though it might have been surprised at the time, because for memory purposes, Noah Gray signed a contract before last season. So it was kind of like but it was also like, hey, based on Travis Kelce getting up to a certain age and years in the league, and when his contract ends, did the Chiefs feel comfortable enough that Noah Gray could be durable and serviceable enough to be the leading tight end if that were the case in, and I know this sounds crazy, guys, 2025 and or 2026 with, and I love Nate Dogg's comment here, the next tight end probably playing in the SEC right now, because guys,
right,
here's how you know if there's a good tight end in college. Is he Brock Bowers? That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I love the kid from what was the guy's name from Penn State last year?
Oh, don't do this. I deleted all the names of the Chiefs
I know,
draft from my brain.
I did
Oh,
too.
yeah, there were 2 good tight ends, and he was one of them. Tucker's screaming at his computer.
Tyler
Warren. Thank you, Tucker.
Yeah, Tyler Warren?
I made it through draft weekend, and then those names all went into the bin. I don't know.
I loved Tyler Warren.
Is he a Lion?
His quarterback. By the way, this is how you know college is crazy. I loved Tyler Warren because I said, look at all these insane catches from an inaccurate quarterback. And then a lot of people told me, hey, dog, he one of the best quarterbacks in this upcoming college year. And I said, what? His quarterback did him no service, and he still put up numbers. So, hey, if you're Tyler Warren or Brock Bowers, easy evaluation. Everybody else, hard.
The shock value stat I was looking for is not as funny as I thought, because Noah Gray was 4th in receptions for the Chiefs last year because no one else was healthy and catching passes all season. Correct. I will say he caught 1 fewer pass in the regular season than DeAndre Hopkins. For a guy who was there for a little bit of time. Like, it's just Travis Kelce caught everything. Xavier Worthy was next, and then it was Hopkins and Gray. Noah Gray had, here's another, just for how the offense changed. Noah Gray ended up with 16 more receptions last year than Rashee Rice.
Man, Rashee Rice is going to get targeted 200 times this year.
Noah Gray was 5th in targets in the playoffs when, like, with Hollywood back and Juju in a larger role and all of that. Tied with Juju at 4-5.
Yeah. And to be fair, tight ends at times break out late. Like what Brock is doing in Vegas is unusual.
Insane.
But generally, like, Gray has settled into a very good tight end 2. I think a passable tight end 1.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Sense. You know what else is fine? We're an hour and 4 minutes, and that's fine. And we did a fine show. I actually think that was a fun show today. Seth, I think we got the problem with perceived value somewhere woven throughout this topic. But if you have if you know what I'll say, if you have any more thoughts on that, you'd like to get out of your system, I'd suggest you mosey on over to your CMS over at the Chief of the North newsletter. You just right away, you just scribble away at the Chief of the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com, and we'll talk about something else on Thursday. Are you starting your off season cycle? Yeah, I know you're teasing maybe a Jaden Hicks film review. Is that still plan A?
I'm thinking about doing a
Yes,
series
Lord.
on players the Chiefs are banking on beyond the obvious next year, and Jaden Hicks is the most obvious of the non-obvious.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We get a little Charles Minahu out of you after that. Look, Seth's gonna. He finally gave you animals. And that's crazy. That's what he called you guys in private. He gave you animals, the UDFA review that you needed. But we'll maybe look a little more ahead. And I don't know. We got 2 days. I don't want. What am I gonna tease? Hey, in 2 days we're gonna do this again. Not tomorrow. The day after tomorrow. Three of us about the same time. Gonna do a podcast that's similar but slightly different.
I probably won't eat biscuits and gravy during that one.
Please don't.
I will
Please.
actually guarantee that I do. I will move heaven and earth. I'll make it a business expense. All right, Nate, get us out of here. And if you need to, now Nate has a visual aid.
That's right. This is my son's new backpack. Thank you for camping, for trails, for climbing mountains. Look, a couple things here, guys. There is a really fun video game called MLB The Show. All right, I've played it. We've all have. One of the best features, because this is different from basketball. There might be some similarities in hockey. I don't know. I haven't played NHL in a while. But you can't do this in Madden, right? You can't create a player and then get to the show in 50 games on the video game. Guys, Jack Caglione made it to the bigs in 50 games. That's absurd. No pressures. Hey, Seth, they didn't score a run on Sunday. There is no pressure. He's only the savior of an offense that is abysmal by MLB standards. Second thing, I know people have asked. So once again, welcome to Nate's Tennis Corner. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. I love this. I love this question from Nate. Nate, who's stopping Alcaraz? His name is God. Okay, only God can stop this man. All right, only the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ can come on down and move better than Alcaraz, hit a better forehand. I don't know, be consistent on the backhand. Serve like God in godlike moments and have like the drop shot of an angel. Sure, then he can stop Alcaraz. I do love the question from Paslow, Novak or Sinner. Now, here's where it gets interesting, kids. Novak Djokovic has been playing us all year. He does not care about anything other than Grand Slam tournaments. So it leads me to believe that he will beat Alexander Zverev tomorrow. Alcaraz on ADHD makes meds is unstoppable. It's pretty great. Now think about this, guys. If you're Alcaraz, you do not want to see Novak Djokovic, because Novak Djokovic has enough experience to know how to manipulate his game to combat yours. We saw this last summer at Roland Garros, but it was technically the Olympics. If you're Alcaraz, you actually want
Siri, text Jazz and ask her to bring me some biscuits and gravy, ?
If you're Alcaraz, you actually want Jannik Sinner to make it to the finals. Jannik Sinner, world number one.
Well, that's the guy who really ought to be scared of playing against God, huh?
Yeah, I mean, God would beat him 6-2, 6-2, 6-2 in less than 2 hours. If it was Alcaraz, it'd be 5 sets for over 5 hours.
Sinner, no less, Seth. I know you weren't listening anymore, but Sinner was the guy's last name. It was very funny.
Yeah, Jannik Sinner, an Italian who does not look Italian, is the world number one player in tennis, weirdly enough. But Alcaraz destroys him because he hits the forehand better. He's a better mover. You could honestly say he's better tactically. Jannik Sinner is just incredibly consistent. He's like a robot, and he's really fun to watch. On the women's side,
he doesn't really look Italian.
Yeah, thank you. He doesn't look Italian. It's fine.
Tell me some other tennis players who I can Google and say if they look like their nationality or not. Let's play that game. This show started with Seth demanding a sandwich from his wife. Let it end with me guessing nationalities.
See if you can spell this name. Talon Grigspor. Okay. Alec Bublik is amazing. So center is the Joe Thuney of tennis. Kinda. He doesn't say anything interesting.
I think I can
but he's
spell
so
that last
goddamn consistent. It's insane.
Can I point something out for everyone?
Sure.
While we were recording, I received a text message from my wife asking me to bring her food at soccer practice.
And I bet you told her hell no.
Yeah, I told her.
It doesn't work like this.
You are. I am.
That's bowling.
Something resembling that. Oh.